Okay, so I'm going to do 51 from section 12.3. It tells us that the tangent of theta equals -3/4, and you're given that the cosine of theta is less than 0. Again, it's important to always be thinking back to the chart we made before, which is when are these different functions positive and negative? Tangent function, if you remember, is negative in quadrant 2 and in quadrant 4, because in quadrant 2 the x is negative, the y is positive, so that's a negative value when you do y over x. In quadrant 4 the x is positive, the y is negative, again a negative when you do y over x. For cosine, it's negative when the x value is negative, which is just going to be in quadrants 2 and 3. So what quadrant are we working in for this? When are both of these things true? Quadrant 2. So we go through and make our triangle. Or you're given that the tangent of theta is going to be -3/4, and so we create this reference angle. Theta is actually this angle. And for the reference angle, we know that the y value here is going to be 3, and the x value is going to be 4, because tangent is y over x. And so when we know it's second quadrant, so it's going to be -4 for the x, comma 3 for x and y. And then if you use the Pythagorean theorem, and if you know your Pythagorean triples well, 3, 4, 5, 5 is the hypotenuse of that triangle. So we go through, find the rest of them. Sine of theta is y over r, so that's just 3/5. Cosine theta is x over r, which is just -4/5. Tangent theta we know. Cosecant theta, well, that's going to be the reciprocal of sine, and so it's just going to be 5/3. Secant theta is going to be -5/4. And then cotangent is the reciprocal of the first one, -3/4, and so that becomes -4/3. And so that's all 5 of those. We're also going to look at number 73. So on number 73, you're asked to write cosine of 180 plus theta as in terms of cosine theta or sine theta, and or sine theta, both. So when you draw this, if you have an angle that is 100 plus theta, let's just go ahead and assume that theta is a reference angle less than 90. And so if that's the case, it would have to be right here. Well, when you think about this, this gives us a negative value with this theta reference angle for cosine. So if we want to, and this angle is theta, and so if we put it up into cosine theta, that would be this angle being theta. Well, the difference is the x value is positive here, the x value is negative there, so that means that the cosine of 180 plus theta and cosine of theta just have opposite signs. So the cosine of 180 plus theta just equals negative cosine theta, right? Cosine theta would be this x value over r. So negative of that would be when this is negative, right? And then this is r. And so cosine 180 plus theta would be negative x over r, so cosine theta would be positive x over r, which is just the opposite of cosine theta to get the negative x over r. So that makes the equality true. For 75, you got the same thing. You can use the same picture because you want the tangent of 180 plus theta. Well, in this one, we know that the tangent of 180 plus theta is going to be positive, assuming that theta is less than 90. So it's going to be positive over here. And so it just turns out that an identity about tangent is that the tangent of 180 plus theta is just the same as the tangent of theta. Now, it said that you need it to be in terms of sine and cosine. So you needed to remember the identity that the tangent of theta is just always equal to the sine of theta over the cosine theta. So tangent theta just equals sine of theta over cosine theta, because we did that before with using the trig functions and evaluating it. But the correct answer for this one, and that's just because this identity is true. Tangent of 180 plus theta is equal to the tangent of theta.